Does he live or die? By your command.
Strike true, pig child. Don't make me wait.
Why?
What's up, everybody? This is Joe with Hipfire Gaming. Gonna give you another Why Not, this time on Elder Scrolls Online, and this was a unique case for me because it's a game that I initially actually didn't like almost at all, and then went back, revisited, played again during the beta, and was very, very impressed after I was able to shake off my preconceived notions in the first playthrough. Now, first off, a disclaimer, I'm not in any respect, regard, or avenue a MMO player. I do not love them. I have not played many. I have never launched up World of Warcraft, Guild Wars, any of the like. I am a huge Elder Scrolls fan in general. Put way too many hours, like most of you, into Skyrim, as well as Oblivion, going back to Morrowind. Before that, the series is a little foreign to me. I know the lore, but I'm not one of those guys that goes all the way back to Arena. But enough with that. Let's jump right into Elder Scrolls Online and why we picked this for another edition of Why Not. Elder Scrolls has always kind of needed something that was a bit more social. Some people are very, very upset or turned off by the idea of playing with other players inside the world of the Elder Scrolls and the world of Tamriel in general. I was always of the mindset that it would be really cool to be able to jump in with a buddy and go on a couple quests, as long as we were kind of in the same progression, or even if they were a bit beyond me, they could help me out. Something like Borderlands, for instance. Drop-in, drop-out co-op has always been a thing I really, really enjoy when a developer puts into a game and puts time and care into it so that it's fully fleshed out. While I can't say that I was excited about the PvE, it's always an interesting concept, and I always want to try to challenge myself a little bit, but the traditional worries of the gamers that are out there and the people that we all know we run into when we're playing were in the back of my mind, of course. So let's jump right into my first playthrough. I created a red guard who had the monk tantric awesome haircut, looked fantastic, and I played very Skyrim-y, if you will. I picked up a sword and a shield and did my blocking, my striking, and tried to pick up every weapon on the ground. One thing that really turned me off right away is I was actually expecting a Skyrim experience, and I have to tell you straight up, if you go into this game expecting Skyrim, don't even buy the game. It's not Skyrim, all right? There are a lot of things they do that try to make it more familiar to people that have played the recent entries in the Elder Scrolls anthology, but it is not the same as Skyrim. It's not the same as Morrowind. It's not the same as Oblivion. You have to go into this understanding that it is an MMO. When I was able to shake that idea that this was going to be Skyrim with more players and actual people, that's when I started really having fun, and I'll get into that in a second. But in my first playthrough, sword, shield, no magic, just kind of went in beating stuff up. And I had a blast with this in Skyrim, but in Elder Scrolls Online, it wasn't nearly as rewarding. While I leveled up pretty quick, got some cool abilities and things like that, it just didn't really tickle my fancy, if you will. Don't get gross. Walking away from the first playthrough, I could see what the game was going after. It was very, very impressive with how many players were able to play, and the game still looked pretty good, ran pretty smooth, and the graphics were understandable that they were in kind of a beta state, but it still looked really good. I was actually very impressed. There were some awesome visual moments. The narrative seemed pretty directed and pretty good. When I was able to realize that the guy with the pot on his head was John Cleese, I was immediately excited because I obviously love the actor and I love the inclusion of talent like that. Now, that talent doesn't necessarily translate into all the voice actors within the game. The Elder Scrolls in general have never really been known, same goes for Fallout, haven't been known for the best of voice acting. They get a couple marquee names, and then there's your kind of typical dry, herky-jerky voice acting. But that's okay. You can actually get past it with the immersion that the game already creates for you. Coming out of that first playthrough, I had to reflect on the game, and I try not to do this too often and just think about, man, what was it that I really, really didn't like about it? And that's when I came to that conclusion that this is not Skyrim. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, but I realized, man, I went into this game expecting something different than what was there. And it was idiotic of me. So hopefully a lot of you have had a chance to play it so far, but if you have not, please do bear in mind, and this is a repeated warning, I'll probably mention it a few more times in the video, it's not Skyrim. Don't jump in to play Skyrim for $15 a month. Just go back to Skyrim. There's some amazing mods out there. There's user-created mods like Fallscar are incredible, And then you've also got things, of course, like Dragonborn and Dawnguard. Going into the second playthrough, I jumped in with the idea that this wasn't Skyrim. This was an MMO. This is a brand new game to me, set in a familiar universe. So I jumped in, created my character. As you saw at the beginning of the video, I tried to make a character named Uggs, and unfortunately that was taken, so I had to revert to Uggs McJugs. Uggs McJugs and I took off on another adventure, and you'll see we were able to defeat the first boss in the first little dungeon there, and then you're transported to the world of Tamriel. Depending on your race and alliance, you're going to get thrown into different areas. So I was thrown to a familiar kind of desert oasis coastal region. It was very kind of tough to describe, but it was pretty cool in the fact that I was able to jump right in, get into some quests. I was immediately put into recruiting for a heist. After a bit of playing, everything became familiar again. The parts that I really liked from Skyrim were there, but then the parts that were very MMO feeling were there as well. So I was able to increase abilities and use a little bit more magic and distribute my skill points and my abilities and my character. It all started really to gel, and what the telling sign for me is I lost track of time. I was spending over 2 hours at a time playing this, and for me, that's a big accomplishment. If a game can hold my attention for over 2 hours or so, it's absolutely incredible due to the fact that I typically don't have 2 hours to spend. The gameplay is tight. The combat, while a little bit wonky, is obviously going to be a bit refined and understandably tweaked before launch because it is a beta, and that's what's important about a big game like this. I expect Bethesda to have a good launch. I really do. I think we're going to see things like maybe a few server issues here and there, but I think the telling thing is going to be that subscription. How many people really do want to pay $15 a month to play Elder Scrolls Online? The visuals are great. The game runs well. It's really cool to see some of those worlds that, for instance, need to be reimagined or re-realized in a newer visual engine. I'd love to personally see us go back to places like Oblivion, Morrowind, and all the regions within Tamriel and see those realized in the new engines, and hopefully even next-gen engines would be a perfect opportunity to get more of an install base and even sell some software. I can tell you I would buy the Anthology if it were to hit PlayStation 4, Xbox One, or PC and have updated realizations of those realms and worlds. I think that's really cool. I think it's a unique opportunity, and it's a lot of business, but it's also going to be a lot of work, so I really don't see it happening. The story, the narrative, it's all there. I mean, there's a lot of core concepts that are working really, really well in Elder Scrolls. There's not a lot of fetch quests, which I was very appreciative of, and I had heard that a lot of MMOs can rely or lean on those as a crutch just to get players doing stuff, and I didn't feel like I was doing fetch quests. And you get good rewards. I can see how that dangling of the carrot is really going to come into play, and that's kind of what kept me going for that 2 hours at a time that I was talking about earlier. Now, we have to talk about the subscription model because this is concerning, and this is something that all the players and all the potential buyers are going to have questions about. Currently, Elder Scrolls Online will retail more than likely for $59.99, but there are special editions available, and you will be paying $14.99 per month to access Elder Scrolls Online. Now, Bethesda's remaining pretty stalwart in their word that they're not going to go anywhere on this pricing model. This is how the game was built, and this is how it's going to stay. A lot of folks are calling for a free-to-play model. While I could see it happening, I could also see it definitely not happening. But I do believe that if Bethesda sticks with the $14.99 model, they've got to make the value within the game apparent to the consumer. If they come out with something as basic as a map pack down the road, it's not going to cut it for gamers. If they come out with something like a map pack with X amount of hours of brand new content as well as new characters, possibly a new character arc, new abilities, they've really got to pack the value in those expansions that they're going to release. And if they charge for those two, God help them. I really don't know what's going to save Elder Scrolls Online. And it's sad because I really do love this universe. I had very high hopes for this, and I was actually pretty excited that this was coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Now, another small point of contention here is the fact that some of the pre-orders do have an extra race. You may have seen it in the menus, called the Imperial, which is at the very bottom, and they've received a bit of heat for this. Well, Bethesda hasn't officially, to my knowledge, released any statements saying that the Imperial will now be included, but as it stands now, you have to pre-order a special edition in order to get a whole race. Now, the Imperial, I could really care less. There are 9 other races that I could actually play with and have a good time, I'm sure. The Imperial may have some perks. I did play as Imperial in Skyrim a couple times just to mix it up, but I don't think it's going to be a deal breaker. But it is interesting that there's an entire race that's withheld from the game and from the audience that is essentially behind a paywall. Hopefully it's not a sign of things to come, and hopefully Elder Scrolls and Bethesda, they typically make great decisions, so we should see some sort of counteraction. Just recently, they actually held the beta where you could play as the Imperial. Now, that may have just been, again, dangling a carrot for the consumer that's on the fence to go buy the special edition now. Now, this is all a lot to say for a game that isn't even out yet, and we can't give you our final verdict on or a full review. That's why we're doing a why not on it, because we wanted to play it, we wanted to see what it was like, and we figured, well, what the hell, why not? My recommendation currently for Elder Scrolls Online, depending on where you are, if you're a fan of the series and you love MMOs, by all means, you're going to want to get into this game. If you are kind of on the fence, or you're a fan of Skyrim and not necessarily the core RPG elements, you may want to hold off. My honest recommendation at this point is see how the game performs when it comes out at retail, and let's see kind of what happens here. I personally was going to be a day one purchaser. I still do like the game, especially after that second playthrough, but I cannot say that with 100% certainty I'm going to be buying on the day of release. Please do let us know what you think of Elder Scrolls Online and the subscription model and all the stuff that's involved with this. That'll do it for this episode of Why Not, focusing on Elder Scrolls Online, which releases here in April. If you have any more questions, please hit us up on Twitter at Hipfire Gaming. Leave a comment on the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, let us know what you think, let us know what you want to see in an upcoming episode.